So today we've got DC Universe news. As usual, you guys know I like to keep a tab on that, such as the Flash movie, also Warner Brothers Discovery's joint merged new streaming service with a name they're contemplating. I bet you could never guess the name. We're also going to touch on Robert Pattinson's new movie, which looks super intriguing. I mean, I know it's not the Batman, but certainly I really like the idea of this one. Also a bunch of other little nuggets of information that we're going to talk about, such as the Jedi Survivor poster. Those of you who are big fans of Star Wars, Cameron Monaghan, that goes way back into the days of Gotham on this channel. Also the Mandalorian Season 3, Black Adam and its theatrical run. There's a little bit of discussion there, and probably more. There is more, I know there's more, but my brain can't seem to remember the headlines right now. If you're a fan of HBO Max's Doom Patrol, check out the review for the first 6 episodes I uploaded yesterday. Also, I did quite an interesting update on the Penguin series with very spicy characters surrounding the Falcone family and more in a Penguin update video. Go check those out if you haven't already, and all that's left to do is to get into today's news. So to start off with the DC, I was about to say EU, it's not the DCEU anymore, DCU universe. The Flash movie's release date has been moved up to June 16th, 2023, and that is from June 23rd, 2023. So we're going to see it a little bit earlier. I guess it doesn't really want to compete so much with the whole Indiana Jones side of things. It's not a massive shift, but hey, you get to see the Flash movie a little bit earlier, and not only that, we could find out, and I'm sure we will find out with how multiversal, past and future, and universe shifting that movie is, just what the heck is going on with the DC universe in the future. Although I do have a feeling things are still going to be a bit ambiguous, even come the end of the Flash movie. Now we also have some new looks at Flash merch kind of designs, if you will. So there's various posts here, and this is from user Mikhail Viril. I'm probably butchering that name, but I believe he somehow has access to the artwork for the Flash. This is stuff that you put on, I don't know, mugs or merch, hoodies and whatnot, and there are several of these that are featured. Now, these aren't fan-made. I know a lot of people are wondering about that, but the thing that interests me most of all, even though we have seen a little bit of this in the actual Flash trailer that we got what feels freaking ages ago now, we get to see a good look at the second Barry's Flash suit. Now, we do know in the movie it was getting spray painted. It was like Batman's or Michael Keaton's Batman torso plate, if you will. You can see the bat emblem there, and they've just, basically spray painted a Flash symbol over it. It looks like they've got some tape as well with some arrows over it, kind of like some safety tape. And yeah, we just get to see the 2 Flashes that we're going to see in the Flash movie, because if somehow you're not aware, Barry Allen is playing, or should I say Ezra Miller is playing 2 Barry Allens. Now, is this other Barry Allen going to be a bit mysterious? I'm sure it won't start that way. I'm guessing that the other Barry's going to help him get his powers, but will he remain the other Flash hero, or will something more sinister happen? This isn't a theory video. We don't need to get into that again, but you can see also on the cowl of the second Barry's Flash suit that he is wearing a Batman cowl, just with the ears chopped off. Some people were saying that maybe he's wearing some earphones as well for the Flash symbol on the sides. But yeah, just thought I'd check this out there. Looks pretty cool. Obviously, the second suit is meant to be a very makeshift, quick suit for the second Barry to wear. And then lastly, on the Flash side of things, we have a teeny little revised logo. So this is the old logo, and now you can see the slightly revised one. What I like about this is, even though it's largely the same, you can see the little gilded edges on the F and then on the H. It kind of is reminiscent of the gilding on the suit, whether that's the belt or the ears. You can also see that the actual emblem in the middle has got a bit darker rather than the kind of highlighted little circular bit. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we've got our first poster for DC's Blue Beetle. That is coming in theaters August 18th. This was posted by James Gunn on Twitter, but with also him saying, "We're excited to be shepherding the great films made before we arrived and working hard to create an extraordinary, wondrous, and unique DCU beyond that." And that's something we will need to bear in mind. James Gunn and Peter Safran are mapping out the next 10 years for sure, and they're going to be pitching that in only a couple of months or so. But there are already existing films from the previous regime. Now, the Flash movie is one of those. We've also got other ones like Aquaman, Shazam, and things like that. So, I don't think James Gunn and Peter Safran would have tore that open and saying, well, we've got ideas that we want to connect from your movie into our 8 to 10 year plans, so you need to change this, this, and this. That's the thing as to why I said earlier, even with the end of the Flash movie, I still think we're going to have to wait a while, even though that's a very timey-wimey movie, till we find out what the heck the plan is with James Gunn's side of things and what's coming in the future after that. What I do think with the Flash movie, though, and how that can connect to new changes, maybe a new Batman, God knows what else, is even if the Flash movie doesn't answer it, whatever comes in the future, even if it's quite a notable change, you know, some people saying, oh my god, is Momoa now playing Lobo, things like that, they could still use the excuse as a line from a ripple effect of that of the Flash movie, saying whatever Barry did back then, remember the Flash movie that you watched like a year ago? Well, yeah, it's because of that and how Barry cemented the new timeline from fixing it is why we're getting this in James Gunn and Peter Safran's overseen movie number 1, number 2, number 3. I don't know if you're still with me there, but they can always blame it on Flashpoint. But that is actually not the last of James Gunn, kind of, because we have another recent story, and that is that the Batgirl film directors, remember, they directed a whole movie, and then it kind of never got released and was a tax write-off from Warner Brothers Discovery. So they've popped up again in the new report from The Hollywood Reporter, and it goes as follows with regards to working with Warner Brothers again. Yeah, we'd still work with them, says fella, but on one condition, that the movie comes out. I mean, if Warner says, do you want to do the next Batman or Superman? Of course we'll say yes, just so long as the movie comes out. On that note, while Gunn reached out individually to offer his support, there hasn't yet been a more formal meeting with him since he's been installed as DC Studios co-CEO. But the meetings are in the books, says Arby. So that's interesting, but also not a surprise. Now, with James Gunn being the co-head of DC Studios with Peter Safran, he's already, you know, he said his first phone call was to Matt Reeves. He's been talking to other people like Dwayne Rock Johnson and loads of people. Like, this is his job now. So it does make sense, and the reason why I say it's not really a surprise is these guys are talented directors. You may have seen other work of theirs. So the point is that they have always said, and Warner's at the time, even though you could look at this as a bit of fluff surrounding the negativity of the fact that the movie got canned, that yeah, we'll work with them again, and let's see Grace if they ever want to come back. And I do believe that, and we could actually be seeing that now. Maybe James Gunn, he's got 8 to 10 years planning, guys, so he's got plenty of opportunities for directors to step in if they want to do so. And that meeting is in the books, apparently. So with that being said, what movie do you think James Gunn would pitch to them? Maybe there's actually, I can imagine James Gunn having a list of characters saying, actually choose your pick, and we'll talk about that, see if it's right. So I leave the floor to you. Which DC characters would you like to see? Bilal Fallah and Adil El Arbi, I always butcher names, but which characters would you, if at all, like to see them direct in an upcoming movie in the next 10 years of DC? So up next, let's talk about Black Adam, and I'm sure you've heard a little bit about this already, whether you absolutely enjoyed the movie, found it incredibly entertaining, or you found it just meh to an extreme no, do not enjoy that. Well, it's been reported by Variety that Black Adam needed to earn around $600 million to break even, earning $387 million globally after 7 weeks on screen. But they go on to say more specifically, as a result, the film needed to earn around $600 million worldwide to break even and to surpass that lofty benchmark to turn a profit, according to sources familiar with the financials. Yet box office experts believe Black Adam will stall out with less than $400 million globally, which is problematic since the movie theater owners get to keep around half of those sales. Now, the movie stands to lose $50 million to $100 million in its theatrical run, according to the estimates of insiders, as well as rival executives with knowledge of similar productions. Sources at Warner Brothers dispute those numbers, saying that the movie will break even at $400 million. When the film was commissioned, the break even was believed to be $450 million, but that figure has dropped given the particularities of the new home entertainment landscape, one in which Black Adam has overperformed projections. They also argue that these ancillary revenue streams have grown more profitable with shorter theatrical windows. Thanks to pandemic-era concessions, films hit home entertainment platforms in 33 days rather than 75, which reduces the money needed to revive marketing campaigns for a digital launch. With ancillary revenue, sources at Warner Brothers say that the film is poised to get into the the black. So yeah, that is the thing. No matter what, with the digital release that's happened recently, Black Adam will be getting a bit of a splash of cash, if you will, but it still isn't what one thinks of as a resounding success, or even like a middling one, to be honest. The way I see it, I'm sure to Warner Brothers, the profit of Black Adam just seems like I don't know if I want to call it a redundant venture. And I'm not even saying that this will be the end of any kind of sequel or appearance of Black Adam, but it definitely isn't great news or encouraging for Warner Brothers Discovery to go ham on plans in the future when you consider the facts, just the mere facts of its theatrical run. No matter what way you want to look at this, whether you loved it or absolutely hated this movie, they wanted to earn more money on this movie, and it didn't actually earn a lot. If anything, right now, even with digital sales taken into account, it's treading water. To put it bluntly, it's not soaring, it's not swam to land and then running in the sun with a freaking towel. It's like, please, you know, okay, my head's above the water. Okay, you know, we're getting good digital sales. You know, maybe that even exceeded our expectations, and that can recoup some of the money that we hoped to have made in the theatrical run. So yeah, Black Adam, you know, I can't really say what's in the future. I don't think Dwayne Johnson's off the board. I'm not saying that. I don't think that. But this has to be a little bit of a sting for WBD. So, in Warner Brothers Discovery streaming service news, we know that they have Discovery Plus and HBO Max. Now, are you ready? Drum roll, someone, please. What could the new name be when Discovery Plus and HBO Max merge? Max. Apparently, Max. So CNBC reports that the merged platform's expected name, Max, is being vetted by the company's lawyers, according to people familiar with the matter. Executives haven't finalized the decision, and the name could still be changed, but Max is the likely choice, said the people who asked not to be named because the discussions are private. The app itself will share similarities with Disney Plus's platform, with Warner Brothers Discovery's brands as individual tiles, the people said. HBO, Discovery, DC Comics, and Warner Brothers will be among the landing hubs on the platform, the people added. So that's kind of interesting to know, that the latter, at least, like with this new streaming service, it's going to be new, but, you know, also samey in a way. You're going to have almost this Disney Plus kind of hub, these different tiles where you have HBO, Discovery, DC Comics, Warner Brothers. So that makes sense, especially with all of the different, you know, fingers in the pie that they've got. But also, what do you think of the name Max? I mean, it is what it is. You know, I was wondering what they were going to call it, given that you have two streaming services merging, Discovery Plus, HBO Max. You know, take away the HBO, I guess call it Max. Do you have a better name? But this news also comes after the news recently that we heard of with Warner Brothers Television Studios is in the process of closing a major animation deal with Amazon for DC branded content, according to Channing Dungey. Dungey teased the news at Content London, stating that the studio is exploring animated IP on different platforms, including WBD-owned HBO Max. With animation, we used to be about staying in-house, but now we are doing on different platforms, she added. HBO Max is the first stop, but we are in the process of closing a big deal with Amazon featuring DC branded content in animation, which makes sense. For example, we know that Batman Caped Crusader, HBO Max passed on that, just like what they've been passing on a bunch of things in the past few months, and it was being shopped around Netflix, Apple, Amazon, but now we're hearing about this deal with Amazon. It might very well be the case that Batman Caped Crusader could pop up on your Amazon Prime Video subscription. The way I see it is, if we get more animation, which does feel like it's been dwindling under Warner Brothers Discovery's interest on other platforms, and that means that we get more of it, then I'm okay with it. So up next, Robert Pattinson. Now, we've known about this movie for a while, but recently, very recently, we just got a teaser for this new movie, Mickey 7, directed by Bong Joon-ho, and it looks like and sounds like a very interesting film to make a movie from, an actual book adaptation, and I think this is actually his first movie since the very critically acclaimed Parasite. And Robert Pattinson doesn't always, you know, take movies just willy-nilly anymore. He's been working a lot up until he was in Tenet, and then obviously The Batman, on starring in, you know, a lot of independent movies and everything like that. So I don't think he would have taken this one lightly. And after all, it's Bong Joon-ho, so like, for crying out loud. But anyway, it's releasing March 29th, 2024. I love sci-fi movies, I love space. The synopsis of this, or at least what we know from the book, sounds very intriguing. The description is is as follows. Mickey 7 is an expendable, a disposable employee on a human expedition sent to colonize the ice world of Niflheim. Whenever there's a mission that's too dangerous, even suicidal, the crew turns to Mickey. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. Mickey signed on to escape from both bad debts and boredom on Midgard. After 6 deaths, Mickey 7 understands the terms of his deal and why it was the only colonial position unfilled when he took it, but he goes missing and is presumed dead at the hands of the deadly indigenous creatures. Mickey 8 reports for duty, and their troubles really begin. So seeing Robert Pattinson portray a role like that in this movie, and obviously this little teaser, all you see is like him playing that role and like the camera's rotating, but I expect very good things from this movie. I think for sure it is one to keep our eyes on. So do you think that this looks good? Does it interest you? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, a little bit of Star Wars news. We found out that The Mandalorian Season 3 is releasing on March 1st, 2023. I'm very excited about this upcoming season. You know, we're going to Mandalore. We have Din Djarin trying to redeem his Mandalorian title, even though I don't know why you'd want to try and redeem yourself in that really kind of culty version. I kind of prefer Bo-Katan's version of the creed that she tried to explain to him, but we've got to get all kinds of exploration into that, of course, because we have more Bo-Katan. So that means more Darksaber drama as well, especially from that first teaser that we got, and of course, more Baby Grogu. As you know, we review The Mandalorian on this channel. When we get more, I will definitely cover more, especially when we get that new trailer. And speaking of Star Wars, we also have Cameron Monaghan's Star Wars Jedi Survivor releasing a new poster and new details. Again, I don't always cover video game stuff on this channel, but as such a huge Star Wars fan, I enjoyed Fallen Order, and there seems to be a lot of hype about this, and you know, we should be getting a trailer at the Game Awards sometime around, I believe, December 8th. The game is releasing March 16th, which is, you know, around the Mandalorian period as well, so that's going to be quite a period of Star Wars. But if you're interested in the synopsis of what could be happening in the next game following Cameron Monaghan's Cal Kestis character, it goes as follows. The story of Cal Kestis continues in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This narratively driven single-player title picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and follows Cal's increasingly desperate fight as the galaxy descends further into darkness. Pushed to the edges of the galaxy by the Empire, Cal will find himself surrounded by threats new and familiar. As one of the last surviving Jedi Knights, Cal is driven to make a stand during the galaxy's darkest times, but how far is he willing to go to protect himself, his crew, and the legacy of the Jedi Order? Now, what intrigues me most about this, other than the person in the freaking Bacta tank or whatever that is in the first trailer, of which I think is that same person of whom was fighting Cal, because they're both missing an arm, but we don't need to get into theory time with that, is that this takes place 5 years after the first game. Now, in the first game, it took place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. The second game, 5 years after that, so that's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. And what else takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith? And that is the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. So this is happening at the exact same time as the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I'm not saying that given the way the series ends in Obi-Wan, you know, he's talking to Qui-Gon and everything, that would get any kind of cameo. It would be pretty cool to get an Easter egg, considering that Obi-Wan's faith is quite restored. He's a bit more into the Jedi-ism of things. I mean, especially as he's going to be getting some more lessons from Qui-Gon. But yeah, just thought I'd add that in there. If you want a rough idea of what is going on at that time, just think of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And all that's left to really talk about, even though I didn't get a chance to cover it, is the Last of Us trailer. We got a new trailer. It looks great. This is basically my reaction. Very hyped for this. We'll be reviewing it episode to episode. So I thought this really showed us even more. I'm really happy with the casting. I know some people were iffy about Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal, even though, you know, people love Pedro Pascal. People are very particular when imagining real castings for video game characters that they've become so attached to. But yeah, again, with what this trailer expanded on from the previous teaser, just showing us more of the infected, more of Joel and Ellie's trek to the other freaking side of the country, and just, you know, that relationship being very distant in the beginning, but you can kind of see the little seeds growing there, especially if you've played the game. Very hyped about this. It's very hard not to be hyped about this, and if you're really kind of not, just play the game, trust me. Like, play the game. If you have a PlayStation and you haven't played The Last of Us, What? Anyway, though, everyone, that is the topics of today's video. Let me know what you think about each and every single one of them. Just thank you for clicking on this video. If you want to help me out a bit more, you can do so by hitting the join button or even just liking the video. That helps out a bunch, just engaging like that, leaving a comment, sharing it. So thank you. Couldn't do it without you guys. It really does help grow my channel. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you people of every universe out there in the next video. Goodbye.